This as President William Ruto forms a tribunal to investigate the Shakahola deaths and mass graves. Plus, President William Ruto, former President Uhuru, and Azimio leader Raila Odinga mourn the widow of freedom fighter Dedan Kimathi. Good evening. Rudanyama is on the sign language interpretation. You can always talk to us on our social media platforms. Now, President William Ruto has appointed a commission of inquiry on the Shakahola tragedy, as well as a task force to review the legal and regulatory framework governing religious organizations. According to a Gazette notice issued Friday, Honorable Lady Justice Jessie Lasit will chair the commission of inquiry into the Shakahola massacre that has left hundreds dead. The members in the task force include retired Lady Justice Mary Mwangi Kasango, Eric Gumbo, Bishop Catherine Mutua, Dr. Jonathan Lodu Mpui, Dr. Frank Njanga, Wanyama Musiambu, and Albert Musasia. Now, the legal and regulatory framework governing religious organizations, which the Mutava Task Force is expected to identify legal gaps to prevent religious extremist practices and later submit its findings and its recommendations to the President within 6 months. This Evidence Cabinet Secretary of Interior, Professor Kithure Kindiki, has noted that the government will resume the search and exhumation process of more bodies at Shakahola Forest in Kilifi County next week. According to the CS, the government will make further arrests in the coming days, noting that they had zeroed in on second and third tier collaborators to the main perpetrators of the Shakahola massacre.
We will do whatever it takes to make sure that we do not get this kind of harm ever again in our country. We will not stop at any length. Some of the measures are administrative. We have taken them. We have removed all those people who were in that area of responsibility, not because we are condemning them, but we are asking them to stay out so that first we can establish what happened. Number two, we have decided that there must be accountability. This accountability will be in three strands. The first strand is we must ensure we punish all those who did what they did. Those who killed our people in a cruel and degrading and inhuman manner must be visited with the worst form of punishment that is available.
And the first phase of the autopsy and DNA testing has been concluded, with the government pathologist Johansen Oduor confirming that all bodies had their internal organs. And as Gilbert Nanloa reports, exhumation of bodies in the forest is set to resume. This as Azimio leader Raila Odinga was denied entry into the forest, the scene of the mass graves, with police officers insisting it's a scene of crime.
According to the government pathologist Johansen Oduor, phase 1 of autopsy and DNA testing is complete, this bringing the total number of bodies that have been examined to 112. The autopsy further revealed that 1 out of the 12 persons died in hospital due to dehydration and malnutrition. Johansen confirming that all bodies had the internal organs.
Today we were at the last day of a postmortem process, which has been ongoing since Monday. One body of these 5 bodies, which are fresh, one person had died in hospital. I think the person had stayed for about 2-3 days in hospital. And from the hospital report, the person had gone there with severe dehydration. The person also gone there with the severe malnutrition.
Drama was, however, witnessed at the scene of crime after Azimio leader Raila Odinga was denied access to Shakahola Forest that has been under tight security since the start of the exhumation process.
Mimi nilikuja manake mimi sihitaji idhini wowote katika taifa letu nifike hapa. Na nilisema mimi nakuja, haikuwa ni kisiri.
Odinga, who had earlier declared his intentions to visit the forest, was barred from accessing the area.
Tukio la Shakahola si la Kenya peke yake. Ni kitu ambaye imepiga ulimwengu na butua.
The tough-talking Odinga, who was accompanied by Kilifi woman representative Gertrude Mbeyu, Malindi Member of Parliament Amina Munyazi, among other leaders, reiterated that he needed no permission to visit the area, stating that it was out of order to lock out journalists and human rights activists from the process.
Ni mara ya kwanza kuona serikali inapiga marufuku waandishi wa habari, hata wale kutoka shirika ya haki ya binadamu kuingia na kuyaona.
Reporting for TV47, my name is Gilbert Nalwa.
And to more unfolding stories on the Shakahola massacre, Pastor Paul Mackenzie of the Good News International Church and his co-accused will remain in police custody for 5 more days, awaiting the custodial ruling by the court. Shanzu Senior Principal Magistrate Yusuf Shikande is expected to deliver a ruling on whether the government will be allowed to hold the suspects for 90 more days on Wednesday next week. And as Paul Munir reports, Mackenzie has spoken for the first time since his arrest, accusing the police of starving him.
Good News International preacher Paul Mackenzie and his co-accused were today arraigned before the Shanzu Law Courts. This would also be the first time he spoke to the media since his arrest, claiming that they have been denied food, that the Shakahola scene doesn't relate to where he lives since it's many kilometers away, that he doesn't recognize some of the respondents put in custody together with him, and that he had noticed plans to tarnish his name from what is being witnessed in Shakahola, which he reported to a police station in Kilifi while the matter was not investigated, that his relationship with Pastor Ezekiel was only business related. The Shanzu Court Principal Magistrate Yusuf Shikada, however, directed that Mackenzie and his co-accused remain in custody for 5 more days. The prosecutors submitted that the investigations would need more time, further calling for a 90 days custodial period to enable the police conclude investigations.
What we will be doing is indicating the progress of the status of investigation, the lines of inquiries to be pursued by the police that are remaining.
They admitted that the nature of investigations keeps on changing following the ongoing rescue mission and autopsy. They state that cult victims need time to recover for proper investigation. If released, the respondents may interfere with the witnesses.
I stand here to object the number of days that the prosecution is seeking before this court, and that if the court is to give such orders, to be granted 7 days or be admitted to bail and bond terms.
The judge will, however, issue his ruling on the 10th of May at the Shanzu Law Courts in Mombasa, meaning that Mackenzie and his co-accused will remain in police custody for an extended period of 5 days. Paul Munir, TV47, Mombasa.
I think of that, Abdullah Munir. Now, on a sad note, 7 people have perished following an accident involving a school bus ferrying mourners at Kimathi Junction along Homa Bay Highway in Homa Bay County. According to the police, the said bus belonging to ACK Gu Secondary School was transporting the over 30 mourners from Nyakach to a funeral at Pala Village in Rachuonyo North Sub-County when the accident occurred. Witnesses say the bus driver was in the process of negotiating a corner after dissecting from the main road for another route towards Pala Village, but he lost control of his vehicle before it overturned. And may their souls rest in eternal peace. Now to the health desk, the World Health Organization has declared the end to the COVID-19 public health emergency. According to the World Health Organization, this was a major step towards the end of a pandemic that has killed more than 6.9 million people globally and ravaged communities in the past 3 years.
The pandemic has been on a downward trend, with population immunity increasing from vaccination and infection, mortality decreasing, and the pressure on health systems easing. This trend has allowed most countries to return to life as we knew it before COVID-19. For the past year, the Emergency Committee and WHO have been analyzing the data carefully and considering when the time would be right to lower the level of alarm. Yesterday, the Emergency Committee met for the 15th time and recommended to me that I declare an end to the public health emergency of international concern. I have accepted that advice. It's therefore with great hope that I declare COVID-19 over as a global health emergency. However, that does not mean COVID-19 is over as a global health threat.
From matters health to matters politics, Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio coalition have resumed the search for consensus in the bipartisan talks that collapsed a fortnight ago. The 14-member team, in a meeting today, said it's committed to the talks, with Kenya Kwanza nominating lawyer Mukami Thiankolu to the Joint Secretariat. The dialogue team is expected to kick off back-to-back meetings next week to address contentious issues, among them whether the servers should be opened and whether the process should be parliamentary or not.
Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio coalitions re-engaged for a crucial round of talks that could make or break the talks next week. A meeting to break the ice after hardline positions scattered the talks. Kenya Kwanza ceded more ground in the spirit of statesmanship in the talks by nominating lawyer Mukami Thiankolu to the Joint Secretariat, where he will join his colleague Azimio's Paul Mwangi.
The Kenya Kwanza side has nominated Dr. Mukami Thiankolu, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, as the Joint Secretary from that side.
Both sides admitting they are making headway in the talks, despite remaining scanty. The formalization of the dialogue, given the framework of the talks, is yet to be taken to Parliament, and more so, members to the bipartisan team, despite having the blessings of Azimio leader Raila Odinga and President William Ruto.
We've made tremendous progress, and it's work in progress. We have not finalized. We will finalize by early next week, and we will report to you fully.
The Azimio coalition has given President William Ruto 30 days to sort out contentious issues after talks begin.
The urgency of the matter is shared by both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza.
Whether the process should be parliamentary or not, the opening of servers, restructuring of IEBC and the restatement of Cherera 4, party hopping and immediate reduction of food and fuel prices, putting the committee under the nation's microscope. Apul Kamau, TV 47.
Right, that story by Apul Kamau takes us to a fast short break. We'll be definitely right back. You're watching Fight It.
Wakati mwingine kama weekend, mimi najiachilia.
Hata ukumbuki hii story.
Nikifika watu wangu wakinipokea na kupokeleka.
Umeset the mood.
Nimeset the mood. Naweza kupokeleka. Nikitumai kwamba mzima popote pale ulipo, nikikukaribisha katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi. Jina langu Elizabeth Mutuku. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kutangamana nao kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea siku nyingine. Tutapatana papa hapa umjue kiongozi mwingine.
Jiunge nasi toka hapa ufuoni mwa bahari. Meli yetu itakapotua nanga kwa uhondo ribo ya riwaya hii mwisho wa kosa. Monica.
It's early morning in Maralal. Start your morning informed, educated, entertained, and above all, know your country. From the beautiful plains of Samburu County to the skyscrapers of Nairobi, Morning Cafe certainly got you covered. Indeed, a beautiful place to watch and certainly a moment of understanding and knowing your country. Indeed, to the remotest parts of every county.
Join me, Linda Alela, every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
The diversity of Kenya's wildlife has garnered international fame.
This is pellets that we give to the tourists, the giraffes. We ration because we don't want the giraffes to eat too much of this. We want them to have more of the natural browse.
We may not always get the opportunity to go out to see the wildlife, but you will never miss the opportunity to see it from the comfort of your couch.
This is home to animals that have been found out there either injured, abandoned, or confiscated from people who are holding them illegally.
Only on TV47 Wildlife, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Freedom fighter Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi, Mukami Kimathi, is dead. Mukami died at a Nairobi hospital last night while receiving treatment where she had been admitted. President William Ruto has led Kenyans in mourning Mukami, describing her as an outstanding woman. Dennis Otieno with the story.
She will be remembered as one of Kenya's legends who fought for independence during colonialism. The wife of Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi, Mukami Kimathi, who died last night while receiving treatment in hospital. According to Mukami's daughter, Evelyn, her mother experienced breathing difficulties and unfortunately succumbed while receiving treatment at a hospital in Nairobi Thursday night, aged 96. Being part of the Mau Mau movement that sought to liberate Kenyans from the captives of the British colonialists, Mukami was arrested and jailed at the Kimathi Maximum Prison.
The late Mukami has been an inspiring figure to those of us in leadership in terms of building our resilience and our commitment to say no to oppression. As we prepare to bury her, we continue to ponder about the land question. That thousands of Kenyans who fought for independence live in squalor and poverty, despite the fact that the British government had set aside land for their settlements. And these are questions that in the coming days we shall continue to have a discussion on how this historical injustice can be addressed one day.
Apart from fighting for the country, Mukami was embroiled in a battle of her own since the year 1980, where she desperately pleaded with the government to identify and exhume legend Dedan Kimathi's body, which was buried at an unknown location at the Kimathi prison. Unfortunately, the heroine's wishes to bury her husband at their Njambeni home never came to pass until her demise. Efforts of former presidents of the Republic of Kenya, including Mwai Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta, to search for Dedan Kimathi's body were unsuccessful. Dedan Kimathi was arrested by the British colonialists in the year 1956 at Kihagaine in the Aberdare Ranges and was locked up at the Kimathi prison in the year 1957. In the year 2003, the late Mwai Kibaki's government officially registered the Mau Mau movement and disbanded the colonialists' law that the Mau Mau was a group of rogues and outlaws.
And for us, it is actually a call to patriotism and a call to look at the interest of the nation and the interest of future generations over our interest. Mukami Kimathi and Dedan Kimathi may have passed away, but the question still lingers. Did we get the fair dividend of the struggle for freedom? And did those people who sacrificed most for this country to be where we are, did they reap the dividend? That question will not die with Mukami Kimathi, did not die with Dedan Kimathi, will not pass away because of our generation. It will linger for a long time to come. And actually it's one of the questions that we as a country have to grapple with.
Earlier in January this year, the Kenya Kwanza government aided in settling the bill of 1.3 million shillings to one of the private hospitals in Nairobi where Mukami Kimathi was receiving treatment. Dennis Otieno, TV47.
Name will definitely be engraved in history books for the next 20-30 years to come and in history. Now, there was drama at the Embu Level 5 hospital after two families differed over who should bury the 3-year-old boy whose body was retrieved from Rupingazi River 4 days ago. The baby's paternal family insists on burying him according to the Muslim faith. However, the boy's mother has rejected the proposal, saying his child is a Christian. Now, the war of words between the two families escalated into physical brawl. The burial ceremony halted following the fracas.
Juu babake alikufa, wakamchukua huyo kijana akiwa mdogo Aziz, na huyo babake baba mtoto wangu walikuwa marafiki. Sasa wakamchukua wakalia babake mtoto. Sasa ndio maana wanasema mtoto wangu ni Muislamu na si Muislamu. Wanataka wazike mtoto wangu jana na staki. Nataka kwanza uchunguzi ifanywe nijue ni nini kilikuwa na mtoto wangu.
Sisi tumekuja hapa postmortem peke yake. Tuangalie ndio tujue ukweli wa mambo. Juu hii maiti inaonekana kuna vitu vimefanyika na sisi Waislamu hatupendi hiyo kitu, lakini ilibidi likubali cause mtoto ametolewa, kuna sehemu za mwili hana.
And into the wonderful world of sports. Reigning continental volleyball champions KCB have continued with its preparations for the 2023 African Club Championship, expected to serve off on May 12th to 22nd this year in Kelibia, Tunisia. The squad that is captained by Edith Wissa is expected to leave the country early next week before kick-starting its 2023 campaign. Despite losing last year's most valuable player, MVP Sharon Jipchumba, KCB head coach Japheth Munala, together with his technical bench, have bolstered the squad with additions of Esther Mutinda, Juliana Namutira, Elizabeth Lemosiany, Faith Cherotich, and Pauline Chemutai. The youngsters joined a pool of talented and experienced players, including Malkia Strikers captain Masi Moima and Edith Wissa, libero Lindsay Jeruto, and will be keen to fly the Kenyan flag high in their debut competition.
Okay, I've been preparing well. We have been combining the African Club Championship with the local tournaments and local leagues. So seriously, we have taken the training from 3 weeks ago specifically for Africa, and I believe I want to say that the team is ready for Africa Club Championship.
It's now the morale in the camp is very high. Players are psyched up and ready for the championship coming next week. So I can say we are very much prepared. We've been training all through. We have worked on all our weak areas, and we know that you are ready.
And over 50 players earlier today had the opportunity to audition for a place in the national under-18 girls team at the Steamer Club grounds in Nairobi. The selection exercise, which is the first of a series of trials lined up in different parts of the country, is aimed at creating a formidable team that shall represent Kenya in the upcoming Shakahola under-18 championships. Coach Beldin Odemba leads the exercise and will be tasked with drafting a provisional squad that will hit camp after the selection exercise ahead of the tournament. While thanking the players who took the time to turn out for the selection exercise, the coach also noted that the junior team was key in sustaining success at senior level.
We should get a good team. We should let it continue. We should make a conveyor belt, just the same way we did in 2018. We had a 2020. We had an under 20 team that played the qualifiers for the World Cup, and then after that, the players graduated to the senior team. So if we have an under 18 now, we should also think about an under 15 maybe, and then we should maintain the under 18 because there are under 20 competitions coming later. We shall need a feeder. We shall also need, apart from getting good players in that age category, we shall also need a feeder, and we shall also need to feed our senior team.
And with Kenya's athletics pride, the Cape Kaino Classic Tour being just around the corner, the international event earlier today received a major financial boost from banking firm Absa worth 50 million Kenyan shillings. This year's edition of the race will be the final edition of the Global Athletic Showcase, slated to take place on May 13th at the Kasarani Stadium. Absa Bank, in the partnership deal with Athletics Kenya, sponsored this year's athletics season to a tune of 60 million Kenyan shillings, where 10 million Kenyan shillings will be used to leverage amounts to support subsequent events in the athletics calendar, including the Under-18 and Under-20 African Championships trials. Speaking during the signing of the partnership deal, Principal Secretary Jonathan Mweke urged the private sector to collectively and individually promote the development of sports to uplift the economy.
To thank ABSA and other partners who've come together to enable this event to take place. Indeed, we're encouraging the private sector to come together collectively and individually to help us promote and support sporting events of this kind. We did work with ABSA earlier, as the CEO has said, in the Magical Kenya Open golf tournament that happened in early March this year. And now we are partnering together in May to pull together this athletics event.
It gives me great pleasure and joy to be gathered here